slide is not supposed to summarize 100 pages of World Health Organization guidelines, but has some very important sentences here that I would like to reiterate, which is that the proactive management of modifiable risk factors can actually delay or slow the onset of the progression of cognitive impairment. Very importantly, dementia is not a natural or inevitable consequence of aging. And very importantly, at the end, the importance of keeping your cognitive reserve at a full level. The cognitive reserve is built since the moment that we are born, with our parent stimulation, with when you go to school, and etc. And it could be easily depleted if you don't continue to build it with brain stimulation, with education, sports, work, etc. This slide summarizes some of the recent guidelines from the American Diabetes Associations that actually shed some light into the vicious circle between poor glycemic control and decline in cognitive function. It's the story of the egg and the chicken, but definitely we have to put an end to this vicious cycle. So as you can see in the blue box below, they recommend early detection of cognitive impairment for individuals 65 and older, but also for any individual that shows that it cannot control their glycemic control, because it could be because of cognitive impairment. So in this case, the physician could provide more simple schedules of medication or involve a caregiver. Here also an important summary from recent guidelines from the American Academy of Neurology, September last year. And I would like to draw attention on number 1 and number 4. Number 1 is very similar to what we saw from American Diabetes Association. Test cognitive function in individuals 65 and older, but also on individuals at any age that have chronic neuropsychiatric disease, because of course they can in itself be cause of cognitive impairment at any age. And the item number 4 actually also reinforces what we mentioned before, that in addition to chronic neurological diseases, cognitive impairment can be impaired because of hearing and visual loss and many other things that should be treated timely and appropriately. Now, what is important to know is that in order to assess cognitive health when it matters, before you even start to have mild cognitive impairment, we have to have a particular tool that is sensitive enough to detect cognitive impairment before it's too late, that has high test-retest reliability. That's important, because if you detect a transient cognitive impairment and then you start with your management, you want to make sure that the tool that you use is reliable on the before and after. It doesn't have variability, subjectivity, or it cannot be just learned on the internet. And the third item that is super important is the lack of bias. It has been actually detailed by the American Academy of Neurology that many of the quick cognitive assessments, they carry a lot of social, economic, educational bias. And as you can see, there's a high incidence of cognitive impairment in African Americans and Hispanics. So a tool that has lack of bias in the way they assess cognition, it is extremely important. So that is why I believe that CogniView is of value to assess cognitive function. And the reason of that, the main reason, is that is based on a unique and sophisticated science behind it, which is called adaptive psychophysics. It's a technology that has been developed at the NIH for a number of decades, and also FDA cleared. And this technology allows for a more sensitive and sophisticated evaluation of key cognitive domains, and it's free of common biases associated with current cognitive evaluations, because As you can see in the small squares, what the individual does when he is evaluated by CogniView is pretty much a raw reaction of your brain to stimuli in front of them, either with symbols, movements, figures, or just one or two letters. And the other thing that is quite important is the adaptive nature of it. The two first tests are done is to adapt the test on the subject's motor abilities. So if there is any issue with the motor ability, the test is going to be slower. If there's an issue with the visual ability, the test is going to be bigger and brighter. And this test, you're going to have an overall score, and you're going to have a breakdown into cognitive domains and all that in 10 minutes. And it's also proven to have superior test-retest reliability, which I'm going to